Ladies and gentlemen, participants of our India Weight Loss Challenge, India's biggest weight loss challenge. And I have to tell you how delighted I am with the fact that over 150,000 individuals have viewed our various social media sites. And we have several thousand registrations. I am absolutely delighted. Anyhow, today's topic of our webinar, and we conduct these webinars every week. We had one last week in which we introduced the functions of the weight loss challenge. And we have this webinar today in which we talk about probably the most basic causative factor in being overweight or obese. Well, simply put, what is the difference between being overweight and obese? Well, I would imagine if you look at it from a medical perspective, anything above 25 BMI makes you overweight. And obese would be anything above 30 or 35 BMI. And morbidly obese will be above 40 BMI, which is almost double of your acceptable body weight. Now, why do I say that that diet is the most basic causative factor in excess body weight? There are certainly other factors. It could be gender. We do know that the female has a higher propensity to putting on weight. It could be age. We do know that youngsters have a lower probability of putting on weight simply because they have a higher metabolism and a higher muscle mass. It could be nationality. There are several nationalities that are prone to putting on weight. For example, in the Pacific Islands of Samoa and things like that. And we Indians in particular have the syndrome X. The syndrome X is, amongst other things, where you have high abdominal body fat or you have a huge belly. And then you have other factors, certain medical factors. Hypothyroidism could be a causative factor in obesity, and of course metabolism or metabolic syndrome. Medical factors, there are so many factors, but friends, the most basic factor is diet. The food you eat, the food you take in, if not utilized in activity, is converted into fat, and that is the simple explanation. And that is why we have our webinar today. And speaking today will be a most apt and outstanding individual, and that is Miss Harita Sham. Harita is the chief dietitian, the chief clinical dietitian in Apollo hospitals. Is it possible to have Harita's CV on screen, please? Yes, thank you, thank you. Harita is the chief clinical dietitian of Apollo Hospitals, Hyderabad. She completed her bachelor's degree and her master's degree in SNDT University, SNDT Women's University. Thereafter, she went to do a postgraduate diploma in preventive and promotive healthcare from Apollo Hospitals. She has, to the best of my knowledge, 30 or 35 years of experience in Apollo Hospital. And in Apollo Hospital, she deals with the entire spectrum spectrum of dietetics, surgical dietetics, medical dietetics, weight loss dietetics, and so on and so forth. She is a member of the Indian Association of Nutrition, the Indian Nutritional Society of India, and the Indian Dietetics Association. She is the convener of IDA Telangana, that's the Indian Dietetics Association Telangana chapter, and she is a faculty in Amity University, a faculty in IGNU, and a faculty with Apollo Hospitals. Apollo Hospitals, Medvasti, has its own university. She is an author in the sense that she has contributed chapters on nutrition in several books, in critical nutritional care, Your Food, Your Health, and in other books. Ladies and gentlemen, it was extremely difficult for us to get Harita to talk in our webinar, and we had no choice but to record her session, which we will play for you right now.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to this weight loss challenge that you have committed yourself to. I'm Harita, and I have about 2 decades of experience in the area of nutrition. And today I will be sharing with you a few aspects of how you can correct your nutrition during this entire period. We all know that food directly impacts our body, and if we are having a healthy dietary intake over a period of time, we create a healthy body. Similarly, if we are having unhealthy food or junk food, eventually we'll have an ill body or a body which does not have good health. If you look at this religious speak, it rings so true to all the, it's a perfect example that says that stomach is the home of disease. That means, and diet is the main medicine. And if we understand it deeply, understand it correctly, we know that over a period of time, it is the food that can act as medicine. Food is the one which can actually bring us good health. But why should we be worried? Why are we so worried about being overweight or being obese? Or, why is it that we need to be very aware? Now, India is a nation, if you see, has earlier been having burden, let's say, of tuberculosis, of yellow fevers, and typhoid and so on and so forth. But in today's generation, you see the biggest burden actually is all about the lifestyle disorders. What are the lifestyle disorders? We have diabetes, we have cardiovascular disorders, we have hypertension, we have weight gain. All of it could be having impact not only on the costs of the medical care, but also on the ill health and various other disorders which are associated with obesity as well. If you see percentage of diabetes, around 7% of our population is diabetic, but there is only 10 to 15% which is pre-diabetic, and that can also be very easily prevented by taking care of your weight or keeping your weight in the normal range. So it's obesity is an epidemic, it's in transition, and we all have to understand how to address this. Other disorders which India is battling in general are, of course, in addition to diabetes, is also cancer. And very surprisingly, you will see that all of it is being related in some way or other to obesity. So in our medical practice, if you see, we get a lot of referrals from the orthopedic surgeon, we get a lot of referrals from the oncologist, we also get a lot of referrals from the nephrologist. If somebody has very, very early signs of protein loss and the doctor is concerned that this might progress into something bigger in terms of a kidney damage, they actually recommend weight loss for that individual as well. Let me skip this on diabetes. But another disease in that sense, which is coming to epidemic proportions, is definitely obesity. because that is at the fundamental cause of all the various disorders that we are facing in today's world. If you look at the numbers, you have 20% of women and 18% of the men who are found to be obese. And then we are not even considering the category which is overweight. We're only talking about the one who have a BMI above 30. So what is driving this epidemic? We will see that obviously it is the change in lifestyle. If you see this image, you will see that when we are given an option, all of us will take the easy way out. We all would like to take the elevator rather than climb up the stairs. And the small day-to-day steps that we need to take, or day-to-day decisions that we need to take, which will improve our health. It is not about that 1 hour of physical activity or the small steps that we are taking from one place to another, but it's the small decisions every moment of the day that we take which will impact and influence the weight that we have. So really, what is the solution? The first and foremost solution that I tell everybody is have a clear health check. Understand where you stand, not only in terms of your weight and BMI, but also in terms of your metabolic health. How are you in terms of your sugars, in terms of your blood pressure, in terms of your lipid parameters? Because when you are walking towards good health, these could be the small parameters which will act as self checks. It will motivate you very well. Now look at this picture. What does this picture tell you? It shows you how our streets have begun to look like. Most of our Indian streets are also having a lot of pizza and bakery units. We are seeing middle-aged men most of the time start looking like this, where they're slightly overweight but essentially have a pot belly. Now, Indian men are very pear shaped. That means they may be thin, but they have a pot belly. This is the Indian phenotype, and this is more dangerous because central obesity or pear shaped body is the one which has more impact on the health of an individual. Most of the time, people don't really, act on it because people feel that I don't have any symptoms, so I'm okay, or healthy eating is very difficult for us, or healthy food is very boring, or cooking healthy feels too much of effort, or when I'm not feeling well, I'll get a health check done. Why should I really bother about it at a younger age? But we are seeing that now the younger the individual is, as young as 20, there are a lot of issues, not necessarily only about weight. We are seeing high HbA1cs, we are seeing high cholesterols, we are seeing issues with snoring, we are seeing issues with fatty liver, so on and so forth. So what really happens if one does not care, that one moves slightly, nearer to various disorders like heart disease, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, stroke, sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is nothing but snoring. So if you're snoring a lot, means that there is less amount of oxygen going to the body. Arthritis, poor wound healing, so on and so forth. So the list is endless. Almost every other disorder seems to be connected to weight. For example, in women, it is fertility. It could be PCOD related weight gain. In men also, it is related to fertility. So what is the parameters that we would evaluate as you go along your weight loss challenge? How do you know where do you stand? So one of the 5 parameters that you can self-check are the abdominal girth. You can look at your lipids, your triglycerides especially should be less than 150. Similarly, the good cholesterol should be above 40 as much as possible. The blood pressure should be below 130 by 85. So if you're even 140 by 90, you're on the borderline, and taking any step towards improving your health will at least help arrest them at that stage and not become frank diabetic. Similarly, waist circumference is a very simple thing. All of us can do it at home. Men should have a waist circumference less than 40 inches and women should have it less than 35 inches. Then fasting glucose, if you are checking, should be less than 100. It's written 110, but even 100 is on the higher range. So anybody who's checking just checking their fasting sugars, nothing else you're checking, and that's less than 100 or less than 100, that's a good sign. These are small things that you can check in addition to, of course, your weight management and the challenge that you're going to take. Why is it so important to understand the calorie intensity of foods, or which food that I'm supposed to take or not? So if you see this McDonald's French fries, the large pack that is there is almost 600 calories. Now, if you have to burn 600 calories, it almost takes 1.5 to 2 hours. And if this happens on a daily basis, we may not be able to compensate the intake with the physical activity that we are doing. Additionally, these are very high in trans fats. They have which increases the risk of heart disease by 53%. And therefore, it is so very important to understand the nutrition behind the food that you're eating, how it is impacting your health, and how you can reduce the calorie density of your food. We all know that, over a period of time, how did one become overweight? You see that the food is eaten is greater than the physical activity. So in this scenario, you gain weight. So if you're, and you want to reverse this, that the calories burned through the food, you want to cut down on that and increase your physical activity, and slowly you will see that the body will start utilizing its body stores and starts mobilizing its fat stores for that energy that is required, and slowly and steadily you will start losing weight. So it's all a game of calorie balance, where there is energy expenditure and there is appropriate energy intake that you would want to take. As a first step, yes, apart from checking your weight, you want to check your BMI, which is the body metabolic rate. The simple way to calculate is to calculate your weight in kgs by height in meters square. That will tell you your BMI. You will get a number which is anywhere between 20 to 30. So until 25, it is okay. More than 25 to about 30 is going to be overweight. If the number is showing about 30, then you are coming in the grade 1 obesity, and you definitely need to work hard towards bringing it down. Another simple homemade measure is to WHR is waist hip ratio and waist circumference. If you check these two regularly, you will know whether you're making that progress. So first inch loss happens, and then eventually weight loss happens. Many a times when we stand on the scale and their weight is not moving in spite of doing 2 weeks, 3 weeks of physical activity, you shouldn't be disheartened with that. Check your inch loss. If you're having inch loss, that means you're on the right path, and you will soon see the scale moving too. So BMI should be less than 25. Your waist hip ratio should be less than 0.89 and 0.81 in men and women. Waist circumference, as we discussed, should be less than 90 in men, and women less than 80. So we come to the whole point of, all of us being so busy in our life, we barely have time to cook food or buy food. So is really healthy eating possible? It does not mean eating only one kind of food. It is about dietary diversity, so that we get all different kinds of nutrients from the same food group. I mean, let's say, you're having fruits. It's not a good idea to eat apples all the time. It's a good idea to variate the different kind of foods that you're eating regularly, so that you're getting a different set of nutrients from each one of them. And that's true with all the food groups also. So how do we know which food to select? Because there is so much of variation available, and so much of confusion as well around what to eat and what not to eat. So I'm going to brief you about the major macronutrients that you can consume, and in that what is good and not. See, of course, almost all of you who are in this weight loss challenge will know that we should not be taking carbohydrates. But I want to tell you that some amount of carbohydrates coming from good sources are important. Today I saw a 20-year-old boy. He's eating only half a chapati, and that's very difficult to kind of sustain on that kind of a diet plan. So there are two types of carbs: the good and the bad. The bad ones come from anything that is sweet and sugary. So your soft drinks, ice creams, chocolates, desserts, the regular Indian mithai are very, very calorie dense. They come from simple sugars, very easily digested, and will create a constant rush of energy, and then there is a slump. So these are not the right foods. The right foods are the one which gives you a slow and steady energy. So when you eat your whole grains, when you eat your brown rice, when you eat your chapati with more amount of fiber in it or bran in it, when you're eating whole foods like chole, rajma, moong, they have a lot of fiber in them and they give a lot of satiety. At the same time, they give you a sustained release of carbohydrates. And that's why need to choose those cereals or grains which have high amount of fiber, yes, but which also have higher amount of protein if possible. So between rice and wheat has more protein. Similarly, between wheat and quinoa has more amount of protein, and that's why it has become more popular. So all your millets, for example, have higher fiber, higher protein content, and automatically become the choice of grain because we can't eat large quantities. If you eat 4 cups of rice normally, you will be able to eat only 1.5 cup of any of these millets because they have fiber. Fiber fills you faster. They have protein and you feel fuller faster as well. So avoid the simple carbs. Try and take the complex ones, which will give you slow, sustained levels of energy. Second, all of us know about protein. That protein is very, very important. We need at least 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per day. That means if you your ideal weight is around 60 to 70 grams, you need 80-90 grams of protein. And all of this should not come from a single source of protein. Many people are eating only eggs, many people are eating only chicken and then saying that, yes, I'm getting enough protein. Even in the source of protein, diversity is important, variation is important, a balance of veg, non-veg sources is important. So have your eggs, but also have your pulses. Have your chicken, but also look at having your soya, your paneer, you're having your chole, rajma. All of these in a combination will give you the right type of protein. Some are concentrated sources. Some are slow release. Some come with fiber. Especially the vegetarian protein is good because it comes with fiber. How and where do you include the vegetarian sources? For example, you're an office goer and you're just taking roti and sabji to the office. Make sure you're taking a cup of dal. Make sure you're taking a cup of chole with it, or you want to take some eggs with it. Some form of protein should be there in every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Say 60 to 70 grams also if you want to achieve. We need 20 grams in each meal. So unless you're conscious about including protein or looking for the protein in the meal, you're not going to actually feel full, and then you're not preventing the muscle loss. We all know that when we have large weight loss in a month, some part of it is a muscle loss. So to prevent that muscle loss, you have to focus on the protein. You may work very hard. You may do morning, evening physical activity and you're on it totally. The body will show weight loss, but what you need to ask is this weight loss only fat loss or am I losing muscle? So studies and research show that 20% of weight loss is muscle loss. And to prevent that, we have to up our protein. One is we want to retain the muscle. To retain the muscle, we need to feed the muscle. So feed the muscle, starve the fat is the mantra. And therefore, at every meal that you are eating, look for some amount of protein. If you're a vegetarian, you don't want to eat eggs, for example, in the breakfast, include some sprouts and then eat your breakfast. Let's say you're eating upma poha. Only upma poha is simply carbs, right? So before you eat that, eat some egg whites or eat some sprouts, one good quantity, one soup bowl full of sprouts. Automatically, the quantity of carbs that you're going to eat will also come down. So we all know the sources of protein. It could be eggs, chicken, dals. Also have some amount of protein. Paneer and soya, milk and curd are all good sources of protein. And all of these put together gives us that 60-70 grams that we are looking at. Fats is another sources people are confused about. We have saturated, polyunsaturated, monosaturated fats. Then we also talk to you about HDL and LDL cholesterol. By and large, any fats which are solid at temperature. So you have butter, ghee, dalda. These have high saturated fat content, not good for you. Liquid fats, fats or oils which are liquid at room temperature are fairly good to go. Among these also, the Indian oils like groundnut, mustard, gingerly are good oils, and if that's what you traditionally use, please go ahead and use them. But you want to be very, very controlled about the quantity that you are going to be using. So monounsaturated fats are the good fats. So here the example says the same thing, that olive, mustard, peanut are good sources of monounsaturated fat. Another reason or another type of good fats we should include are the omega-3 fatty acids. We get that from the fish. We get that from the nuts like walnuts, pecans, pumpkin seeds, flax and chia seeds. So include some of these in your daily diet. Weekly 2-3 times if you're taking fish, another 2-3 times if you're including nuts. That's a good start to go with. The rotation of oils is the best form of oil for you to consider. So there is no one oil which is ideal, and therefore, through the month you rotate as much as possible. So while we speak about all these carbohydrates, proteins, fat, what most of us are missing out are on the vitamins and minerals. Now, Indians in general, whether we are on a weight loss journey or not, are deficient in micronutrients. We are all have what is called as hidden hunger. What do we mean by hidden hunger is because that we are getting less and less amount of micronutrients. So which are the micronutrients which are important? Each one of them has a specific role. Some have direct role, some have a catalytic role. And these are the nuts and bolts. So we get our vitamins and minerals from the different fruits and vegetables primarily. So I want you all to pause and see and ask yourself, with our tremendous amount of focus that we have on our protein, are we losing out on our focus on the simple fruit and vegetable which should be consumed seasonally? Before I move forward, how much fruit and vegetable? At least 2 to 3 fruits and 2 cups of vegetables every day you take. Even the regular cooking style or the Indian cooking style is fine. That makes you eat more quantity of vegetable because it's a little tempered. Eating raw, eating boiled may not be possible on a daily basis. But even your regular cooked vegetable which is made at home, are you eating sufficient quantity is the question. Apart from the benefit of the nutrients, the fruit and the vegetable, because of their deep color, they give you a lot of disease-fighting property, antioxidant property, or what is called as killing of free radicals, which damage our cells. So while you can eat all fruits and vegetables, you also want to look for the rainbow-colored fruits and vegetables, or one which have deep color. Like, you have brinjal, it has a beautiful purple color. Jamun has a purple color. Or you have the carrot, which has a lovely orange color. This season, mangoes are going to be there, and some amount of intake is allowed. You have your carrots, which has beta carotene. So all of them, which have a beautiful deep color, have flavonoids and carotenoids, which have a disease-fighting property, and therefore consumption of vegetables is additionally required for this impact. There are many nutrients that we can discuss, but the top ones that I want to bring your attention to is don't forget your bone health, and therefore don't forget your calcium intake. While you get it from your milk and curd, you also get it from pulses like ragi. So if you want to put millet in your diet, ragi is a good idea at one of the meals, which will not only give you good amount of fiber, it gives you calcium and iron as well. Then on all our nuts, even commonly used peanuts, are also a good source of calcium, and therefore do not overlook that. Similarly, calcium, of course, is also there in the non-vegetarian foods, especially if you're eating the bony part of it. That will give you enough calcium through the week. Many women are struggling with weight, but also parallelly also have iron deficiency. So if you have iron deficiency, you can't go for your walk, you're fatigued, you're tired, you want to go to the gym but unable to go to the gym, so on and so forth. So check your values, make sure your iron levels are very, very good. Both your hemoglobin values as well as your ferritin values are optimal. And look at your diet again from the iron perspective. Do you have non-vegetarian food? Do you have eggs, especially yolk? Many people who are on a weight loss diet feel that they should not eat the yolk. That is not the case. If you're eating about 2 to 3 eggs per week, comfortably go ahead and have your yolks as well. Similarly, are you having some amount of nuts in your daily diet? Apart from calcium, they're a great source of iron, and therefore they are the multivitamin capsule. So if you don't want to have a multivitamin separately, you want to get it from the diet. Nuts are a great source of the nutrients and minerals that we want to get. Another aspect that I want to quickly cover is chronic fatigue. While many of us want to go to the gym, run that 10,000 steps, all office goers I'm seeing are, hit by what is called as chronic fatigue. So you have muscle weakness, you have muscle aches and pains, you have increased incidence of falls. Some of them also have mild giddiness, and of course, B12 deficiency could also lead to iron deficiency. So, if all of this is there, you want to look at, of course, you want to look at why this deficiency is there. But if it is there, correct it through your diet and correct it if the levels are really, really low, collect it through supplementation, because without the supplementations, the values don't go up. With the supplementation itself, it takes about 2 months, right? So, in these 2 months, you will not have that much energy to kind of do rigorous activity. So it's very important to correct B12, and along with B12, very important to correct vitamin D. Because if these two are less, we see that people have some kind of an unwillingness to go for physical activity. If your levels are optimized, you will see that you have that readiness. Otherwise, you have to go, but then you feel very lethargic and disinterested in going to the gym. But once you correct your B12, correct your vitamin D, you will see that your energy levels are very, very good. So whatever food that you're eating, from there, conversion to the bone health, conversion to iron, all of it, and conversion to energy from the complex carbs that you're eating, all depends on the B complex nutrients, especially the B12. So make sure these are corrected. Go to a physician, do a health check, go to a physician, meet a dietitian, correct all this, and then you will be able to actually perform at the top level in terms of physical activity. Of course, vitamin D is a good source, but if the values are truly depleted, then you will need supplementation. These are the values. These are the values, but all of you should try and be about 30. 30 to 100 is the normal range, but trying to be 30 and above, and trying to be at the upper side of the range. So 60, 70, 80 is what we need, not only in terms of improving your mood, improving your muscle aches and pains, but it also improves your immunity, and it also improves the physical fitness of that individual. So it is indeed a fine balance. While it might seem overwhelming to figure out, one of the largest mantra, what should I eat and what should I not eat, is if it is too quickly digested, then you want to question that food. For example, if I eat a sweet, if I have a soft drink, if I have extremely refined rice and then I'm hungry by 4 o'clock in the evening, then probably you are not consuming the right thing on a day-to-day basis. Whichever has more fiber, has more protein, those are the foods that you would want to take. Also, if you're eating too frequently, you want to cut that down. You eat 3 major meals, maximum you have a snack in the evening. Make sure you're not going hungry, because we don't want you to starve during this weight loss journey. We want you to eat the right food, feel healthy, feel good about yourself, enjoy the entire journey in the next 3 months, and yet have a significant weight loss. So all the best to all of you, and hope to connect with all of you once again.
Well, we certainly have to thank Harita for that outstanding information. This particular webinar is a keep which means you must save it. If you try and look back on what Harita said, she mentioned that the simple formula for putting on weight is eating too much of food and perhaps doing too little activity. To identify whether you are overweight or not, you simply need to take your weight. And once you take your weight and you find you're overweight, you have to keep 2 or 3 things in mind. Number 1, talk to your dietitian, have an appropriate diet. Number 2, she mentions that you need not necessarily exercise as suggested by Harita, but she suggests that small steps, avoid taking the lift and walk up the steps, walk to your car, and so on and so forth. Walk in the mall, be physically active is an important aspect. When she talks about diet, she spoke about carbohydrate that gives you energy. And she said that the simple carbohydrates such as sugar, etc., should be avoided, and you should go for complex carbohydrates like wheat and rice and maize, lentils, and so on and so forth. These not only have fiber, which helps in digestion, but also increases your protein intake. In protein, she spoke about 2 aspects of protein. The non-veg protein of meat, fish, which she highlighted, eggs, which she highlighted, and also the vegetable protein, dals, pulses, legumes, which she said was slow release protein and perhaps having a good impact on muscle tone. She mentioned that when you lose weight, 20% of the weight loss is actually muscle loss, and therefore protein intake is so important to balance that. Normally we would want to avoid fat, but Harita mentioned that fat was necessary. Especially, she said, avoid saturated fats that like butter, etc., that become hard at room temperature. Those are the saturated fats. She suggested instead that you go for omega-3 fatty acids, which comes in fish. And she spoke about monosaturated fats, our local Indian fats, peanut oil, mustard oil, and so on and so forth, and to rotate these oils so that you have a balanced oil intake. She spoke about vegetables, and we all have the impression that eating a salad is probably the best form, and it is the best form of having vegetables because they are raw, but she highlighted the color aspect. And she said the more colors you have, the greater the antioxidants. The greater the antioxidants, the greater the purity. I mean, the greater the immunity, the greater the detox. And therefore, she said multicolored salads are excellent. But she also mentioned that there is great value in cooked vegetables, as we do in India. Much of our food, much of our vegetable intake is cooked. And she said that this was also good. She spoke about fatigue, which many of us have. And at that point, she spoke about supplements. And she suggested that having supplements in the form of medically advised supplements given by your doctor, multi-minerals, multivitamins, or vitamin B, the B complex, or vitamin D. She mentioned all these things were necessary, especially in weight loss. Now, if I were to wrap it up, I would, I did a little reading and I asked a simple question. I said, what would a doctor tell me if I was overweight and wanted to lose weight? Just give me the top 3 pointers is what I said. And it came up with concentrate more or concentrate a lot on soups. That means foods that have a whole lot of minerals, nutritional value, etc., but yet do not necessarily contain too many calories. So soups are an excellent means of losing weight. It spoke about a balanced diet, the Mediterranean diet. That is a diet that contains everything, just lower calories. Have your normal food, but eat less. And then it came up with a significant statement that said, why don't you try intermittent fasting, which is not to eat food for about 16 hours a day. So let us assume that you have your first meal at 12 in the afternoon. Let us assume you have your first meal at 12 in the afternoon. And then during that quick 6 to 8 hour period, you have your last meal or your next meal at 7 p.m. at night, a light meal at 7 p.m. at night. From 7 p.m. at night right up to 12 noon, no calories, only water, preferably only water. Now that would burn a lot of fat. But friends, Harita has told us so much more than these 3 simple points from our doctor. We will be bringing you webinars like this every week. And we look forward to your webinar, to inviting you to join our webinar, and we will send you this information next week at the same time. Till then, thank you very much and have a great day. And we send you these good wishes from India's biggest weight losers challenge team. Thank you very much.